Yeah, it's excellent that we can make it on time since the morning. As our MC announced, for this panel, we are going to have actually three speakers. Three of them will come in as a video. Another two will be from here in our meeting room. The first speaker that we are going to meet is Yuka Kiguchi. Yuka is a director of the Mekong Watch from Japan. The second person is Visarut Saenkham. He's the one who made the photo exhibition on Saenkham Namnoy, cost of life, cost of living. And then we have Suthep Warin, who is working on the Sahong issue. So let's listen to Yuka Kiguchi first. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us in this Mekong-ASEAN Adventure Week. My name is Yuka Kiguchi from Mekong Watch. Please allow me to speak in Thai language. Actually, our feature on Sahong, we cannot say that this is a professional filmmaking. But what we were trying to do is we try to capture about the situation on the Mekong, especially in the area of the Sahong, which is in southern Laos. Sahong is the area of the southern Laos that we call the 4,000 Island. There are many falls in this area in particular, but Sahong or this Sahong channel is the only spot that have no falls. But the stream is very strong, as you can see in the film. So you can see because of the stream, that very special. People have the special way to catch the fish as well. So we made this documentary actually many years ago, and we put all of our documentary in the YouTube. And surprisingly, there are more than 800,000 people already visit the YouTube channel and watch this film. So with the question, how is this area look like now? I have to say that I don't know. Actually, for the people who monitoring the situation of hydropower dam, we should visit the area often and looking at the situation. But I was too emotional because of the change of the area, so I cannot revisit the area again. Because this is the place that can never be returned in terms of the natural. So looking at the website of the company, and they also have the YouTube channel. You can see this picture of the dam. And when you're looking at the video of the company, it looks pretty good that people are having the new occupations, and the company put some information on fish. But still, for me, I still have the question that why people cannot do what they have been doing. The way they catch fish and the way they live can become the illegal, and the one who push the people to change are the people from outside. They are not living in the area. But I still have some hope. Come back to the Pak Moon Dam in Thailand. This is a picture when we opened the gates of the Pak Moon Dam. Only for 1 year, lots of fish came back to Moon River. So I still believe that probably the nature can regain their own strength, and it can come back to life again by itself. So what I hope is that we can really review using our experiences from different hydropower dams and try to do the best for the future. การที่เก็บข้อมูลที่สูญเสียไปไว้ให้เห็น
I think
ในสังคมนะคะ
if we collect the information about the area that already gone, and then show it to the public, maybe it's a good way, but probably after all it's not so good that we put too much information in. But at least when you're looking at this video, you can see how the Mekong, some part of the Mekong used to look like. Finally, thank you very much for listening to me, and thank you for everyone to that. Thank you, Yuka. So Yuka is also here with us. So let me just add here that we would like to have some discussion after we have the presentation. So it's pretty rare opportunity for all of us to meet with the people. So we have our speaker who answer the question in English. So please manage the translation. So next speaker, Mr. Thiwthat Narasaen, who is the director of the movie Since Hope. Is an award-winning short movie. Hello, my name is Thiwthat Narasaen, the director of the Since Hope, the movie. So starting from talking to friends who used to make some movie before, and then we have heard about the festival, the movie and the art festival 2 years ago, that they would like us to submit our movie about Mekong. So I have to thank them that the committee of the festival is
very well accept the concept of our movie, and they gave us some uh, budget to make the movie. So we were focusing on the youth, the problem, love, and the river. So of course, from the beginning, we were very clear that our main objective is to focusing on the conservation of the Mekong. So we started from study about the situation of the Mekong, what actually happening, and then we found out about the problem on hydropower dam, the destruction of the natural resources, including the forest, also agriculture area. What is happening with the Mekong have made the fish decline. The livelihood around the Mekong is also changed. So we made this decision. We have to really making the film about this. So we start to get the plot, and then our plot of the film was submitted first, and then got the budget for the film. So since the main actors, the main character of the film is a young man who is, loving his hometown and the livelihood around the Mekong, and he is trying his best to protect what he's having. And we have two characters playing the Sin's parents. So the change of the Mekong and the people's livelihood reflect through them. We spent about 1 month to make the film, and another month to do the cutting process in Bungkan province in northeastern Thailand. So when we visit and live in the area to make the film, we have the chance to talk to the people in the area, and people report to us that there are many things came with the stream of the Mekong. Lately, it's just like something happened in the above area of the Mekong mainstream. So the people knowing very well why the Mekong changed, but they don't know how to fix it. So now we have the heavy problem of the Mekong fluctuation. So the level of the river can go raise up very quickly and then run down, getting dry. So after we made the film, we have got the award from the festival. But what we are now losing is the river, the people, their livelihood, and also environment. So the problem we found is really big until we don't know how to fix it, how to really solve the problem. But we hope that our movie, the short one, can really make people start to think, that maybe we can start very small, trying to protect, not wait until it's all lost. Thank you. So this is a young generation. So later on we can come back to discuss with Thiwthat. So the next is from Visarut Saenkham, who is making the photo festival here, the cost of life, cost of living. Hello, everyone who joining us in MAEW 2020. I am the one who took the photo for the photo exhibition, the cost of life or cost of living. I cannot come to um, Bangkok, so allow me to join you through this video.
ถ้าถามว่างาน exhibition ตัวนี้มาจากไหนถ้าถามว่า
If you ask me where the idea of this photo exhibition come from, um, I have to take you back to the time that I went to visit Attapur province in Laos, PDR, 2 years ago. It's around 5 or 6 months after the Namnoy Dam collapsed in the southern Laos. And when I think back about the Attapur province and Namnoy Dam, I'm thinking about the boy called Chang. Chang live in the area that being flooded or being hit very strongly by the water from the dam when the dam collapsed. So he need to came to live in Sanam-sai district. And when he go to school, he need to go by bicycle. He ride his bicycle for 4 hours every day to go to school. So it made me think that the hydropower dam that produce the electricity for us in Thailand to use is causing a person or a boy to spend 4 hours in riding his bicycle, and he not even able to afford the money to go by other vehicle to arrive to reach his school earlier. So when thinking about this, I think I would like to collect the pictures of the situation of the people out there, and at least if I can show this photo, the picture to the public, I might be able to help to gain some understanding among the public on the situation on this hydropower dam. So the photo that you can see on the cloth, the long cloth in the MAEW event, I separate the section of the photo into three parts. I would like the one who looking at the photo understand the link between the electricity in the electricity in Laos that link to Thailand.
ชีวิตปัจจุบันในตอนนั้นในเมื่อ2 ปีก่อนว่าหลังจาก5 โรงเรือที่ได้รับผลกระทบจากเขื่อนที่แตกมาชาวชาวบ้านที่ตะเกียบต้องอยู่ยังไงบ้างแล้วก็ในส่วนสุดท้ายครับ
And the last one is the situation of the people in the area after the dam collapse.
ผมมีคำถามผมไปถามแต่ละคนว่าเอ้ยหลังจากเกิดแตกแล้วเนี่ยความฝันของเปลี่ยนไปยังไงบ้างไหมโดยที่ก่อนที่จะได้คำถามเนี่ยสิ่งที่เราอยากจะทำอย่างหนึ่งสิ่งที่เราวางแผนเอาไว้ก็กลับไม่ได้ทำเพราะว่าน้ำมันเขาพัดพา
So in the last part of the exhibition, I interview the people, and at first I named the photo. The exhibition is Drown of the Dream. That when people talking about that dream that have lost.
ผมพยายามหาวิธีการในการนำเสนอจัดแสดงภาพนะครับแล้วผมก็
After the dam collapsed. So why I put it in the cloth, long cloth like this? It's because I am from northeastern Thailand, and in northeastern Thailand there is the to call when people make a big merit called Bun Pawet in the temple. They will put the story of the Lord Buddha in the long cloth, and then they will kind of parade and walk together. I mean, the whole community will just do the walk together, and then so I copy the idea, and then I put
แล้วก็บวกกับอีกอย่างนึงก็คือผมรู้สึกว่าผมคิดว่าภาพถ่ายไม่จำเป็นที่จะต้องไปอยู่ในพื้นที่แกลเลอรี่สุดไปและไม่จำเป็นต้องอยู่ในกรอบที่เฉยๆก็ได้ผมคิดว่ามันควรจะถูกใช้ที่จะเล่าเรื่องที่มันอยากพูดจริงๆดังนั้น
I myself believe that for the photo exhibition, we don't have to always be in the gallery. The duty or the task of the photo festival is to communicate what the artist or what the photographer really want to tell. So I think whatever the photo exhibition along the street can also serve this.
ถ้าถามว่าอยากให้ใครเห็นงานชิ้นนี้ผมคิดว่า
So who I would like to look to have the chance to see this exhibition. I think it will be important for the audience of this exhibition to question themselves, right? Why? For example, when you eat something, sometimes you question what are you eating, where the food come from, and if it's safe enough. But why you maybe very few people are asking ourselves about where our electricity come from, even though we use the electricity in every minute in our life. I think I would like to invite the audience of this exhibition to think back about maybe what we are using every day in our daily life is causing difficulty to the people in other area which is far away from us. So the question of do you know if what happened to the people in Attapur right now? I don't know. I'm not very sure. But what I have heard from the friend who's still working there is that until now, people in Attapur who affect into the it still did not have the compensation. So I hope that when you look at the exhibition, you can think back about this a little bit. So, is there any question from the floor for our three?
ระหว่างนี้นะคะมีคำถามจะถามคุณยูกะนะคะ
So let me just ask some question to Yuka.
เราคุยเรื่องการขยับยานในต่างๆซึ่งก็เป็นเรื่องในประเทศเราว่าอย่างในฐานะของคนที่ติดตามการพัฒนาภูมิภาคแม่น้ำโขงมานานมากก็อย่างวันนี้มาในฐานะของคนทำสารคดีอ่ะ
As you are one who have been monitoring the situation of the Mekong River for a long time,
สิ่งแวดล้อมในอาเซียนอะไรที่มันเป็นอะไรที่สนับสนุนให้มันเกิดสิ่งที่เป็นปฏิปักษ์ต่อการมีคุณภาพชีวิตที่ดีการมีสิ่งแวดล้อมที่ดีในอาเซียน
so what do you think is the main problem that make the situation that you are looking at? You think you can make some documentary or the work that can respond to the situation that now climbing up in the more serious situation.
คุณยุกะยังอยู่กับเราไหมเอ่ยฮัลโหลค่ะยังอยู่ใครอยู่ค่ะค่ะนี่มีคำถามนะคะเดี๋ยวทวนให้อีกครั้งนะคะค่ะก็คือคำถามก็คือว่าอย่างในไทยตอนนี้เนี่ยเราพูดกันเรื่องขยับเพดานอะไรต่างๆที่มันเป็นประเด็นเฉพาะในประเทศไทยแต่ว่าในฐานะที่คุณยุกะเนี่ยติดตาม
So
ภูมิภาคแม่น้ำโขงมานานมาก
just to review the question,
ในสารคดีเองเราก็จะเห็นว่าลงไปเนี่ย
now we are discuss a lot about how to work more, how to push more to make the situation that Mekong region is facing
ที่มันสนับสนุนโครงการพัฒนาที่มันยิ่งทำให้คุณภาพชีวิต
So what is the key problem and how you can work in response to that problem that occurring in the region, in brief?
บทบาทหรือที่ทางของสารคดีมันอยู่ตรงไหนใน movement
So you think within the movement that we are now working in, what is the role of the filmmakers?
ไปเผื่อน้องทั้งสองคนด้วยนะคะสามารถตอบคำถามเดียวกันได้ในมุมมองของตัวเองค่ะ
So for another speaker can also answer this.
อันนี้ถ้ามีคนอื่นสามารถได้ยินคำถามสามารถตอบก่อนได้นะคะเปิดไมค์ได้แล้วใช่ไหมคะได้ยินไหมคะน่าจะดีเลย์หรือว่าไม่ได้ยินอันนี้ถ้าใครได้ยินโดนาตอบให้หน่อยนะคะตอบในห้องส่งทางบ้านโดนาตอบในห้องส่งหน่อยนะคะแล้วก็เปิดไมค์นะคะ
A little bit of the technical problem. We are not sure if our speaker is hearing.
ขอโทษนะคะคือไม่ได้ยินเลยนะคะจะถามอะไรหรือเปล่าคะหรือยังไงคะ
อ๋อใช่ตอนนี้ได้ยินหรือยังคะ
ได้ยินบ้างนะคะแต่ไม่ชัดนะคะ
พูดนะคะแก้ไขทางเทคนิคระหว่างนี้นางจะพูดไปก่อนแล้วก็ยูกะยังได้ยินอยู่ใช่ไหมคะคุณวิศรุตกับคุณฮัลโหลค่ะคำถามนะคะก็คือว่าอะไรที่มันอะไรที่เป็นทำให้การพัฒนาในเชิงคุณภาพชีวิตแล้วก็สิ่งแวดล้อมในภูมิภาคแม่น้ำโขงที่จากการที่พี่ยูกะติดตามมาตลอดเนี่ยมันท
Okay, the question to Yuka is that what is the main reason why the situation that we are all facing is still not getting better? And the second question is that how can the documentary or the film, like what you made, can play the role, you know, on the movement?
อันนี้ถามอยู่ไหมคะหรือว่ายังไง
ถ้ามาถามคุณลูกกะเลยค่ะสามารถตอบได้เลยค่ะอันนี้คุณทิวทัศน์กับคุณวิสุรุตได้ยินไหมคะได้ยินคำถามอยู่ใช่ไหมคะน้องทิวทัศน์ยังอยู่แล้วได้ยินที่พูดอยู่ใช่ไหมคะสามารถเปิดไมค์ตอบ
แต่ว่าจะเป็นเสียงผ้าๆไม่ชัดเท่าไหร่
งั้นระหว่างนี้นะคะเราจะพักช่วงซูมไว้ก่อนเดี๋ยวเราจะแก้ไขทางเทคนิคนะคะอาจจะเป็นปัญหาเรื่องไมค์แล้วก็การส่งสัญญาณนะตอนนี้เราขอกลับมาที่สปีกเกอร์ทั้งสองท่านนะคะ
So maybe we kind of pause the So this is Suthep Krishnavarin, who make the feature on Tonle Sap, or the Great Lakes in Cambodia. So what I would like to talk about is in comparing the situation of the dry season and the flood season in Tonle Sap, and then how it affects to the livelihood of the people in Tonle Sap.
อันนี้จะเห็นได้ว่าอันนี้เป็นที่กำปงเคียงจังหวัดเสียมเรียบ
This is in Kampong Klieng in Siem Reap province in Cambodia.
ภาพเปรียบเทียบอีกภาพหนึ่งครับอันนี้เป็นภาพ
So you can, this is the same house, you know, in the dry and the flood season. So people have the house with the high house with the pole.
อันนี้เป็นบ้านที่ค่อนข้างที่จะเตี้ยแล้วบางบ้านก็มี
So looking at this house, actually compare with other house, it's actually not too high. We have the higher houses around the area.
ที่เป็นติดกับคลองก็จะสูงกว่านี้ครับ
So if the house is settled very close to the canal or something, it can be higher than that.
ครับนี่เป็นพื้นที่เดียวกันนะครับ
So this is the same area, Kampong Klieng in Siem Reap, and before and after the flood. We use drone to take this picture, and the timeline is about 3 months difference. So we took this photo in order to compare, you know, in different season. So Kampong Klieng is the biggest community or the village in the area of the Tonle Sap. So we will see some picture of how people are trying to live with the nature.
แล้วเดี๋ยวนี้จุดมีความเปลี่ยนแปลงจากวิถีชีวิตชาวบ้านคือเมื่อก่อนเนี่ยก็จะเป็นชาวประมงเป็นหมดเดี๋ยวนี้จะมี
So in the past, people in Kampong Klieng were all the fishermen. and now their livelihood already changed.
ภาพซ้ายดูด้านบนเนี่ยก็จะเป็นอาชีพดั้งเดิมเลยก็คือเมื่อเขาหาปลาไม่ได้แล้วปลาตัวเล็กๆเนี่ยเขาก็จะมา
So this is the original livelihood that
คนไทย
people
เค
have.
ยได้ยินในสมัยก่อนที่เขมรเนี่ยจะขึ้นชื่อเรื่องพวกปลาหนังปลาลมควันต่างๆเนี่ยแล้วเอามาขายไทยได้เยอะนะครับเพราะว่าอันนี้เขาก็จะลมควันอยู่ลมควันแล้วก็ไม่ขายปลาแห้งลมควันแล้วก็อย่างซ้ายมือเนี่ยจะเห็นเรื่องความเปลี่ยนแปลงคือเมื่อก่อนเนี่ยจากอย่างเดียวไม่มีการเลี้ยงปลาหรือเนี่ยก็จะมีกระชังด้านล่างข้างซ้ายด้านล่างซ้ายมือนะครับก็จะมีการทำกระชังปลาขนาดใหญ่
So from the natural fish that people can have, now they have to start building some kind of the mobile fish farm in order to capture or to limit the area that they can catch fish, and also the artificial farm that people started to do.
เป็นบ่อปลาที่เข้าไปบ่อปลาที่ด้านล่างนะครับก็คือเขาก็จะจับขายในเป็น2-3 เดือน 4-5 เดือนพอปลาโตก็จะจับขายขึ้นอยู่กับชีวิตของปลาอันขวามือด้านล่างก็จะเป็นภาพปกติก็คือเป็นลักษณะของเขาเรียกว่ารอบที่ไม่ได้หมายถึงแค่ตัวที่เห็นคนเข้าไปอยู่ข้างในแต่หมายถึงทั้งหมด
And then in the picture on the right hand side, you see another fishing gear that we call lob. This fishing gear, it varies in its size. Can be very long and large and can be very narrow. So people were trying their best to adjust the livelihood and adjust their own fishing gears as well to respond to the changing situation in the area. On the left hand side, in the upper picture, this is a shrimp, a Tonle Sap shrimp. And as you know, in Tonle Sap, the rate of the fish that they catch is highest in the world. And people have the specific fishing gear that they use to catch the shrimp, Tonle Sap shrimp. So the picture on the right hand side, actually it used to be the car. So they use the old car and they put lots of the stack of the ice into the kind of the room of the car, and they can make some kind of the refrigerator in order to store the fish. In the lower picture is the fishing gear called uon. Uon is a very common fishing gear the people originally in the area. And for this picture, yeah, it's lob, the fishing gear called lob. So it can be, the length of the lob can be 100 to 150 meters. And in Tonle Sap, the fishermen have to pay tax as well. So if your fishing gear is too long, like if it's longer than 150 meters, you have to pay more tax. And of course, when compared with the past, when you use something with net, the net is became, in a smaller detail net because you have, a smaller fish as well.
ทำให้จะพูดถึงว่ามันก็มีผลกระทบต่อสิ่งแวดล้อมพอสมควรก็เลยมีการออกกฎหมายเพื่อเพิ่มราคาประเภท
And when people start to catch the smaller fish, of course, its effect to the Tonle Sap itself. So some kind of the law was released, and this is a picture of another village called Kampong Pluk. Of course, it's comparing the picture on the left is during the dry season, on the right is on the flood season. And you see
ช่วงที่
in the
สัก
middle
2
is
ปี
the
ก่อนที่ผ
road.
มทำมาถึงตรงเนี้ยแล้วจริงๆ
So
มันเป็นถนนเหมือนถึงหมู่บ้านนะครับแต่
you
ว่าก็
can
คือตอน
see
หน้า
that on the
น้ำ
right
ท่วม
hand side during the
หน้า
flood
น้ำท่วมมันก็
season
จะท่วม
you
จนถึง
cannot
หมู่บ้าน
use
ใหญ่ๆมันก็จะ
the
มาสู่
whole
พื้
road
นที่
because of
ก็
the
จะ
flood.
ต้องไปริมเลนเนี่ยแล้วเรือพวกนี้ก็คือเนื่องจากของภูเก็ตเป็นแหล่งท่องเที่ยวที่
And now
จะเป็น
Kampong Pluk is also the
ที่เว
tourist
ลาเขาไป
spot.
นครวัดไปเสียงเรียกเขาก็จะมีเรือท่องเที่ยวมารออยู่ที่
If you want to visit Angkor Wat, you can come here to this community by boat.
อันนี้ก็จะเป็นที่ตัวหมู่บ้านเลยถ่ายห่างกันระยะเวลาประมาณ4 เดือนก็จะเห็นหมู่บ้านน้ำท่วมขนาดไหนในตัวหมู่บ้านที่ถน
So
น
this
บา
is
ง
the
จุดก็
same
ท่วม
village,
บางจุด
you
ก็
know,
ยังไม่
with
ท่
the
วม
pictures
ช่ว
that
งที่
in 4 months
ประ
difference.
มาณเข้าพฤศจิกายนเนี่ยน้ำก็จะท่วมทั้งถนนจะมองไม่
So
เห็น
by the month like November, the whole road
เดี๋ยว
will
ต่อ
be
ไปต่อไปครับ
all flooded
เนี่ย
under
ก็
the
จะเป็น
water.
หมู่บ้านปกติก็
And this
ถ้า
is
ระ
the
ยะท่วม
road in the
ก็จะ
village.
3 เดือนเท่านั้นแต่นอกนั้นก็เป็นถนนธรรมดาให้
So the flood time will be around, you know, 3 months.
เวลาไปโรงเรียนช่วงฤดูฝนก็จะไปในงาน
So during the rainy season, all these school kids have to travel to school by boat.
หมู่บ้านก็คือหาปลาไปเลี้ยงไก่เลี้ยงอะไรในบ้านครับผม
So people adjust according to the season.
ก็นี่ก็เป็นชีวิตทั่วไปของที่นั่นนะครับ
So this is just the pictures of the livelihood in the area.
นี่ก็จะเป็นเห็นว่านี่ก็จะสูงประมาณ
This is the picture of people building the house, and you can see how high the poles of the
ก็
house.
ระยะแต่ว่าเขาอยู่บริเวณไหนตัวหมู่บ้านที่สูงหมายถึงว่าน้ำจะท่วมขนาดไหนครับอันนี้จะแสดงให้เห็นว่าแล้วทะเลสาบจะมีลักษณะที่พิเศษก็คือที่เขาเรียกว่าป่าน้ำท่วม
So this is one of the special characteristic of the Tonle Sap, the Great Lake, is the flood in the forest. They call flooded forest. And of course, with this characteristic, you know, Tonle Sap have the place for the fish to rest. You know, so it's one of the important condition for the fish spawning.
มากขึ้นและชาวบ้านส่วนหนึ่งที่เป็นนายทุนชาวบ้านเป็นนายทุนหรือว่าคนที่มีตังค์หรือว่าอะไรอยู่ข้างนอกเนี่ยก็เริ่มเผาป่าพวกนี้
So during the dry season now, the situation we are having is the people start to burn the forest for the businessman. But yeah, in the past, people would just keep the forest area because during the rainy season, the flood season, people can just get into this flooded forest and then catch some fish. And it used to be kind of the common area, no exact owner. But now some business people try to claim the area. So as you can see, you know, some part of the forest already been cut, and then for the part that left, it became the tourist spot.
จะเห็นว่าทางซ้ายบนเนี่ยป่าน้ำท่วมเองบางทีไอ้เครื่องมือหาปลาที่เราเรียกกันว่าไอ้รอบเนี่ยเขาก็จะไป
So this group of picture, left hand side above is the flooded forest.
แล้วก็บางพื้นที่เนี่ยพอมันเริ่มเผาเนี่ยเขาก็
So on the right hand side, the big picture is the pictures of used to be the forest. When the burning starts, they clear the land and they became a very dry area instead. So the people who do this are normally the businessmen from outside.
ก็จะเป็นพื้นที่ที่ถูกเผาทำลายจนเกือบหมดแล้วพื้นที่ที่เสียไปเป็นแสนไร่
So it's if compare in rai in the Thai unit, it's 100,000 rai that being clear, that people lost the land and forest.
ด้านที่เป็นของจังหวัดโพธิสัตว์ของเขมร
And this is the pictures of different community in Pothisat province. So also it's a part of the Tonle Sap. So with the different season, the kind of the location of the village seem to be moving, right? Because especially this is the flooding village is moving, by a few kilometers during the flood season. So in this raft or the flooding village, you have different houses that became the shops and things.
แล้วก็จะเป็นที่ที่แบบไม่ว่าจะเป็นเข้ามาซื้ออาหารสดอย่างพวกหมูต่างๆหมูเนื้อไก่อะไรพวกนี้แล้วก็บางทีก็มาซ่อมเรือข้างซ้ายตรงที่เขามาซ่อมเรือแล้วก็มาซื้อตัวเรือสมัยนี้เขาก็จะใช้เรือใบน้อยลง
This is also the pictures of the boat that people selling things.
ก็เขาก็ยังมีความเชื่อในเรื่องของ
And this is kind of the spirit house that people believe and they pay worship to. อันนี้ในกับปูเหมือนกันแต่ว่ามันไม่ได้มีแค่หมู่บ้านแค่บ้านแพรแต่จะมีเป็นบ้านที่เขาลักษณะเรียกว่าเป็นบ้านคนเดินได้ก็คือเป็นบ้านเล็กพื้นที่ไม่ถึงประมาณสักไม่ถึง5 ตารางเมตรเพื่อครอบครัวเนี่ยเพื่อเปลี่ยนสมเพียงเนี่ยภรรยาเนี่ยอยู่กับลูกๆ4 คนเนี่ยเขาก็จะต้องย้ายบ้านเมื่อน้ำท่วมสูงขึ้นอันนี้ก็คือถ่ายห่างประมาณ 4-5 เดือนเมื่อน้ำท่วมเขาก็ในตำแหน่งเดียวกันแต่ว่าหลังจากนี้ก็จะเห็นว่าเขาบ้านย้ายออกไปก็จะขอสไลด์ต่อไปครับนั่นนี่เป็นวิธีการเลี้ยงบ้านเขาก็เนื่องจากบ้าน So in the area people also have the way to move the whole house. They can kind of help together in the community to move to different spots, according to the flood. If they cannot stay, they move.
ก่อนที่ตรงนั้นจะขออธิบายนิดนึงตรงกับองค์รวมเนี่ยก็เนื่องจากในหลายปีที่ผ่านมาเนี่ยการหาปลาการอะไรเนี่ยมันก็น้อยลงเยอะแล้วก็มีผลกระทบต่ออาชีพของทุกคนเขาก็รัฐบาลก็มีแนวความคิดว่าถ้าบริเวณนี้มันเรื่องจากปลามันลดน้อยลงมากเนี่ยถ้าชาวบ้านไม่สามารถในนี้ก็อาจจะต้องอพยพคนขึ้นบกเพื่อที่ไปหาอะไรครับอันนี้จะเป็น
So now with the change, the people start, and we talk to the head of the village and they start to think about moving people to town. Then people can change the job. They have to start finding some works in town instead of being the working still in the village. 'This is the jar that people still use. It's a very old thing actually. Just looking at the shape of the jar.
นมที่มันอยู่แล้วเขาก็เอาสายยางใส่เข้าไปแล้วก็ปั๊มลงไปบ้านก็ลอยขึ้นเดี๋ยวต่อไปจะขอสไลด์ต่อไปครับอันนี้ไม่ได้เป็นที่การเขาเรียกปั๊มมีลงอยู่แล้วส่วนหนึ่งก็เป็นของเพื่อปั๊มลงไปแล้วก็ให้ดันไปใต้บ้านแล้วก็พอน้ำมาเขาจะรู้จังหวะเขาพอน้ำมาจะยกบ้านสูงเรื่อยๆ
This is the way people use the jar to push the house to be higher.
ครอบครัวนี้มาจากตัวจังหวัดกำปงธงเลยซึ่งอยู่ห่างไปสักประมาณ 7-80 โลอยู่ก็เป็นตัวหนึ่งเพราะตัวจังหวัดเนี่ยจะไม่ติดกันนะแต่ตัวในสระ ขยายถึง6 เท่ามันขยายถึง6 เท่ามันไปถึงนู่นพอไปถึงนู่นเนี่ยชาวบ้านในเวลาหลายวัน
This is another pictures of the floating house. They will follow the flow actually of the Tonle Sap and the river in order to find the area to catch fish. Even they used to live pretty far away, they can just kind of float the boat or the house to different areas so they can still catching fish to feed their own family.
ที่ขึ้นไปถึงบ้านกลับมาแล้วก็กลับมาหากินมันจะมีคลองเล็กๆที่เขาวิ่งไปครับนี่ก็จะเป็นลักษณะที่เขาได้หากินไปวนรอบครับสไลด์ต่อไปครับวิธีหากินของเขาก็คือก็อย่างเงี้ยเขาก็จะไปวาง
This is the way people catch fish,
อาหารประเภทต่างๆ
and the fish they have got.
แดงอะไรได้ซึ่งค่อนข้างมีราคาสูงตามแล้วแต่ว่าเขาจะไม่ไปวางที่น้ำมันสูงมากไม่ได้กลางทะเลสาบแต่ว่าบริเวณที่น้ำมันท่วมปิดๆก็จะหาปลาพวกนี้ได้ครับก็นี่ก็คือเป็นที่เขาโยนไปเพื่อนั่งจับดักปลาในแต่ละวัน
They throw this fishing gear to the river to catch fish. But this livelihood, the way of life like this is now starting to decline in the area. And the problem upstream from the hydropower dam, for example, is not only causing the dry, but also the flood, different flood. This is to compare the people use the car during the dry season, the flood season. They use the boat, so that's all I have. So our feature about Tonle Sap in the day that we don't have fish. So you can watch the Tonle Sap, the feature that Thiwthat and his team, the Pale Blue Dot, have made in YouTube, and also we are going to show it today in this meeting room. So the question is how the Tonle Sap and the Mekong relating. So the answer is that if Mekong dry, they will not have enough water in the Mekong River to push in to the So the impact is also about the fish. When they don't have enough water and the season change, they cannot lay its egg. It's too different from the original, the natural. Yeah. So now the economic in the area is getting worse. Because of course people relying directly on the fish. Yeah. As you said, it's 100,000 rai have lost because of the when they clear cut the forest. So what happened with that land? So the answer is that normally people replace the forest with the kind of short life crop like the bean. It depends. But you know, the change is happening around Tonle Sap area. But maybe the change is more kind of heavier in Siem Reap province.
เราขออนุญาตตัดกลับไปที่ซูมอีกครั้ง
So let's see if we can, if the Zoom is works.
กับคุณยูกะนะคะ ยังอยู่กับเราไหมคะ อันนี้ไม่เป็นไรที่ยังไม่อยู่ไม่เป็นไรเดี๋ยวเราสามารถข้ามไปที่วิทยากรอีกคนอีกได้ตอนนี้อยากพูดแย่แล้วนะคะค่ะโอเคเราขอ
The project I'm going to talk about today is called For Those Who Died Trying. And For Those Who Died Trying is a collaboration between Human Rights NGO Protection International and myself. We've been working on this project since about 2015. So today I'm just going to explain a little bit about how we did it, why we did it, and what the image actually shows, because it's not always immediately obvious. For Those Who Die Trying is in essence a tribute to Thai human rights defenders who have been murdered or disappeared in Thailand in the last 45 years. The aim of the project was to preserve the memory of those who have gone, preserve the memory of the struggle that they fought for future generations, so it wasn't lost to history. We also wanted to bring all the different cases, the isolated cases from around the country, and put them into one place. By bringing all these cases together, you can see the sheer scale of the problem here. Whereas when it's just an isolated case, it's much harder to see the big picture. The large majority of photos in this collection are environmental rights defenders, but we also touch on other subjects, other human rights defenders who fought for the rights of workers, who fought for ethnic minority rights, or fought against the issue of corruption. But the vast majority are environmental rights defenders whose struggle covers subjects such as illegal logging, anti-mining, the issue of illegal toxic dumping, struggles against the construction of a large development project, and land rights. So this whole project was really conceived about 8 years ago when I had a chance meeting with a woman human rights defender in southern Thailand called Jintamek Elkau. The older generation here will probably know her, the younger maybe not so much. She's a very inspiring woman, and she led a small community environmental group on a struggle to stop the construction of the coal-powered power plant that a company wanted to build next to her community. The power plant would have been built on the coastline, so the environmental impact would have been horrendous. Many of the villagers around that area are fishermen. There was a growing tourism industry there. It would have been horrendous had they
this small community group, through pure determination, refusal to give in, and then following the laws and the courts and everything, that they actually won. So this was my first introduction to the community struggle in Thailand and the work of Thai human rights defenders in Thailand. And I became absolutely fascinated by it. And it kind of changed the direction of my work completely, if not my life, to be very honest. Jintana had 4 assassination attempts made against her, which fortunately she survived. But then she would tell me about other people, someone who lived very close to her, who had not survived. They'd been killed in the process of fighting against whatever issue it was. So I went to visit the family members of these people, and they told me about other people, and I went to visit, and it snowballed, and I just wanted to learn more. I had to learn more. To me, it was completely shocking that people had lost their lives doing something like this. So I became determined to try to tell this story with photography, which was my skill. But I had to think very carefully at the beginning about how I was going to tell this story. It was a very complicated story. It was a very sensitive story. The people that I wanted to talk about had already died. So how could I tell it in a respectful way that could show the issue? And one thing I've noticed over the years, I mean, all of you will know this already, but to me as an outsider, it was something I hadn't seen before. When somebody dies in Thailand, the family will select a portrait of the person who's died. Often it's a very formal portrait, like a passport portrait, and it's framed and taken to the temple, used during the funeral, and then after the cremation of the body, that picture is then taken back to the house, where it's often kept, whether it's on the wall or on a shelf or in a cupboard. So I kind of thought, well, if I can locate the families of the people, then there would be a picture of that person. So maybe somehow I could photograph it hanging on the wall, or maybe a member of the family holding it, something like that. But I kind of felt that wasn't really strong enough. I could do better than that. So one day I was researching, I was looking for cases, and there was a Thai news website, and on that Thai news website was a crime scene photograph. It was of 2 women, human rights defenders, who had been killed as part of a land rights struggle in Suratani province. Around the crime scene was a police cordon, and there were people looking at the crime scene. I'm not sure exactly who they were. They could have been community members, but it made me realise that people knew exactly where these crimes had taken place. So I kind of thought, well, maybe if I can locate the families and they give me permission to use the picture, then I could also ask them if they could take me to the exact place, or as close as possible. And then by placing the photograph there, it represents the last time that person was seen alive, and would create a much more powerful and meaningful photograph. Was it possible? We had no idea at the time, but we had to give it a try, and we drove, basically. What made this project even harder at the time was that the information that we had was very, very limited. We had the name of the victim, and then some information about the case. Also, within that was the name of the village or name of the district. And we simply put that into the GPS, and we drove in that direction. Once we got within the area, we would ask people, do you know this case? Do you know the community? Do you know the family? Are they still around? And that's how we did it. I think in total, from 2015 to now, I must have driven over 10,000 kilometres to produce this body of work. I think that the way we did it worked in Thailand because of the close-knit nature of communities and rural villages in the countryside. People generally stay or have relatives stay in the family house for generations. If an incident like a murder happens, people remember it for a long, long time. I think if you're trying to do this in a city, it wouldn't have worked. Often, you know, within the city, you don't even know what your neighbour's name is. So I think that was why it worked here. So that's how we did it in 2015.
Collected all the cases we had, all the data we had. They verified the cases, and then I drove off to try and find the people, the families, the community. And to this day, what you see here is only about 20 pictures. Sadly, we've been able to produce 56 photographs that represent 58 people, and going back as far as 1945. 1974. So I'd just like to give you some examples of some of the photographs. Can we go back? Okay. So this is one of the most recent we did. This is Kungaset, and he was a sub-district headman who was shot on his farmland on the 28th of August in 2018 in Nan province in the far north. Whilst he was a sub-district head, he worked very hard to protect the forests around. His community is surrounded by mountains and forest, and so he wanted to protect illegal logging and illegal poaching. And sadly, gunmen essentially ambushed him whilst he was going to his farmland to work. Okay, next. This is the case that I talked about earlier about the crime scene. This is Kun Monta and Kun Bani. They were shot dead together whilst leaving their community by motorbike to go to the market on the 19th of November 2012. They came from a community called Klongsai Patana in Suratani province. And for years, they've been fighting for their right to stay on the land and calling for a community land title. At the time, against a palm oil company who were illegally occupying the land anyway. You can see the palm in the picture. This was one of the most dangerous struggles that I've ever come across. In total, 4 people have been killed at this location. And this is Kun Bajob Now Orpas. He's quite a renowned person. He was shot dead in this garage. He was shot 4 times whilst fixing his pickup truck in Panam Salakam in Chatham Sao province on the 25th of February 2013. He was a prominent environmentalist who was leading his community to expose the serious issue of illegal toxic dumping that was happening all around his area. Today, his brother John Now Orpas is continuing in Bajob's legacy, and he continues to fight to expose this issue that still continues today. This is Jalern Watekson, and he was only 37 when he was shot dead here whilst getting off a bus on the main highway that runs through Betuap Kirikan province on the 21st of June 2004. He was the first case that Jintana told me about, and his wife, Pigra Lok, was the first person that I met while starting this project. He remains one of the most famous environmental rights defenders that Thailand's had, really, because when we were doing this, if we go to remote locations, we explain to people that these are other cases that we've included, and people always knew this case. They always knew Jalun. And then the last photo that I'm going to show today is Kun Som and Kun Thong Nuan. They were shot dead riding a motorbike as they left the town of Sawan Kuha in Nong Bua Lampu province on the 22nd of April 1999. They were part of a community movement that has tried to close a stone quarry that they say has had detrimental environmental and cultural impacts on the communities. They've struggled for this for almost 30 years. The reason why I'm showing this as the last photo today is because yesterday the mining permit of this mine expired. Today, this community who have been blockading the road leading to the mine are going onto the mine itself in an attempt to pressure the authorities not to renew the permit of this mine. So let's wish them all good luck with their struggle now. So that's it. I'd just like to say thank you for listening, and yeah.
ขอบคุณลุกนะคะปรบมือให้ลุกด้วยนะคะจริงๆก่อนที่เราจะมาฟังเรื่องราวเนี่ยเราเห็นแค่ภาพมันก็เป็นเมสเสจที่สะเทือนใจมากนะคะภาพชุดนี้แล้วก็ยิ่งได้ฟังเรื่องราวเนี่ยจำนวนเฉียดร้อยแล้วนะคะที่ประเทศคนที่ปกป้องสิทธิมนุษยชนปกป้องที่ดินทำกินของตัวเองต้องสูญเสียชีวิต
The work of Protection International is very in-depth into the security of communities and human rights defenders. So if we at any point felt that there was a threat to the community or the other people who were still around and our presence would have caused problems, we would not have done it. There was one case in Nakhon Si Thammarat province that had just happened when we were doing it. A gentleman, he was shot 9 times opposing, it was an anti-mining struggle. Protection International talked directly with the family and they decided that whilst they were happy to be included in the project, they prefer it if we didn't enter the community itself. So this was one of the few cases where we actually had to do it outside the community, and we had them explain the location and the description, and then we found a place to do it outside to make sure that there was no repercussions for the community.
ขอบคุณค่ะคำถามต่อไปมาได้เลยนะคะนี่ค่ะถ้าไม่เหมือนจะถามอีก ถามเขาว่าคือจากประสบการณ์ที่เขาลงไปถ่ายรูปอะค่ะทุกคนล้วนแต่ลุกขึ้นมาปกป้องตัวเองใช่ไหมคะปกป้องทรัพยากรปกป้องชุมชนตัวเองเนี่ยประชาธิปไตยมันสำคัญยังไงในประเทศที่มันมีสถานการณ์แบบนี้ค่ะ
Hard question to answer. Yeah, this is a hard question. I think that the more open a government is, the more democratic a government is, the less likely struggles like this need to happen. If, for example, if you have a very democratic government who allows the construction of a power plant, for example, and they ensure that they pass these regulations, they have the right permits, everything is legitimate, then, and with full disclosure to the communities, then it can work. But unfortunately, in places where democracy is much not the clearest, it causes problems in the fact that corruption under the table, a lack of conversation with communities, the ability to put a lot of pressure on communities to just accept what's going to happen regardless. I think, yeah, that has a big part in all of this.
ค่ะขอบคุณค่ะได้อีกเรื่อยๆเลยนะคะ
Is it still an ongoing project? And what is the main message you want to convey? Is it
Yes, it is. It's still ongoing, sadly. New cases keep appearing. There are cases from the past that we haven't managed to find. Or there were recent cases. There was a case, sadly, that happened last year in Nong Khai. A woman human rights defender was shot dead in her shop. We haven't had chance to go and include it, so we will be going eventually to increase. I mean, in theory, we hope that, in reality, we hope that this project comes to an end. But sadly, I worry that we'll just have to keep on doing it. Yeah.
ค่ะขอบคุณคำถามค่ะงั้นขออนุญาตถามต่อนะคะเอาในห้องก่อนได้เลยค่ะค่ะพอดีอยากจะทราบถึงจากบทเรียนที่เกิดขึ้นใช่ไหมคะไม่แน่ใจว่าเราเห็นหรือว่ามีข้อเสนอแนะอย่างไรในการคุ้มครองนักต่อสู้แล้วก็ปกป้องสิทธิด้านสิ่งแวดล้อมค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ
I mean, I'm not an expert. I mean, I tell this story because I want to get it out and to more people to understand what's happening. But I think if I look at the work of Protection International, one thing that they focus a lot on is they try very hard to bring communities out of the shadows. If you go back sort of 10, 15 years ago, many of these places were very remote, they were very dangerous. People didn't dare to go in, really. Tonle Sap in Suratani province, even journalists were too unsure or scared to go in. I mean, it was a scary place. So I think one of the ways that they're trying to help is by you bring these communities out and you present them to the journalists, you invite members of the UN delegations to go and visit them, and you find them a pathway that they can voice their problems. I think that's the part that Protection International really works hard on with this project.
จากการไปถามของผู้เกี่ยวข้องเนี่ยฮะการฆ่าคนเหล่านั้นเนี่ยมันสามารถหยุดการเรียกร้องได้มากแค่ไหนคือกลุ่มคนรอบข้างเนี่ยเลิกเคลื่อนไหวในประเด็นนั้นไปหรือเปล่า
I think that was always the aim. These cases were isolated. They were companies, different companies, they would have the villagers protesting against them. They would identify the leader, who they thought was the leader, and they thought that by killing the leader, then it would cause the whole movement just to fall apart. The villagers, the rest of them would be too scared to continue. So that was definitely their aim. Whether it worked or not depended on the community. Like in the case of Jalur Narasaen, he was killed, but the community and the support that he had was so strong that they still succeeded in stopping the coal-powered power plant. I think possibly at present, the method has changed slightly, and now the use of defamation cases and suing villagers has become much more prolific. Maybe the companies see that by you're bringing so much attention to something like this, whereas with the court cases, they can still try to silence the movement, and it's much quieter for the company. So, like for example, in Lui, the villagers who've been fighting a gold mine, no one's been killed, thankfully, but the court cases have been enormous. I mean, they're just continuously being sued, and they'll be sued in Mesot or Phuket, so they have to travel every time there's an appearance, and it financially and emotionally just wears the villagers out. Yeah.
โอเคนะคะของคุณลุกจริงๆประเด็นปิดท้ายก็การฟ้องปิดปากนี้ใช้กับหลายเคสเลยนะคะไม่ใช่แค่แต่เคสที่คุณลุกอ้างถึงนะคะแล้วยังมีอยู่ทุกเมื่อเชื่อวันทั้งจากนักปกป้องสิทธิ์ที่เป็นคนธรรมดาหรือว่าเป็นนักข่าวเป็น
vendor, the normal people, and also the civil society group.
สวัสดีค่ะคุณยูกะไม่เป็นไรเราใจเย็นๆค่อยๆไปนะคะยังมีเวลาอยู่คุณยูกะได้ยินชัดไหมคะหรือว่าน้องทิวทัศน์ได้ยินไหมคะทั้งคู่โอเคค่ะเราอาจจะดีเลย์นิดนึงไม่เป็นไรเนาะเราก่อนหน้านี้เราคุยกันเรื่องร้อนๆ
So now Yuka and Thiwthat came back by Zoom. So let's continue the Mekong question. So the question to Yuka again, for your long experience working on the Mekong issue, so what can we do to cut this kind of vicious circle of the, say Mekong investment situation, the bad situation that now we are facing? You think is there any mechanism to stop it? This is a pretty difficult question. So in the earlier year that I worked, I was thinking that, we were thinking about the environmental impact assessment, maybe it's answering the questions, or maybe if we do more research, it can answer the questions. But finally, we found that the more we do the research, the worse the situation of the people look we have. We used to believe that if you have enough information about the economic, the benefit, and then we use that information to discuss with the project proponent, maybe it works, but it doesn't work after all. are seeing every day that the project that is not worth economically, but people still push those projects. So the simple question here is it fair? Yeah, so if the project fair, who going to lose, who is going to gain? Is at the the judge project. So I cannot think about the real mechanism that can answer this question. Maybe it's structural question. We have to look at the whole structure. What really happening?
คือต้องดูกลับมาดูว่าเรื่องทำโครงการหรือว่าเรื่องพัฒนาเศรษฐกิจแล้วใครได้ใครเสียแต่ว่ายังไงก็ตามนะคะทุกคนก็รู้แล้วว่าปัจจุบันนี้นะคะทำโครงการทำขยายเศรษฐกิจต่อไปนี้แบบเหมือนเดิมไม่ได้แล้ว
But if you're looking at the situation right now, you would see you cannot do the same as before, right? I mean, when you talk about economic growth, the growth won't be the same anymore in that sense. So you have to looking for the new ways of investment. And I believe, around the region, there are many approach that we are trying to push. We are looking at the business and human rights, and we were talking about justice. And some group following kind of the money flow, how the money has been used to support all this large scale project. But I think after all, you have to always come back to the issue of the justice. This is what we were always trying to push. The question they always say are going to catch with the time. Okay.
ในห้องใครถามนะคะเป็นผู้เชี่ยวชาญด้านการพัฒนาแม่น้ำโขงมากๆเลยถ้าเกิดข้อสงสัยได้ถามก็จะเป็นประโยชน์มากนะคะค่ะคุณกัญญาถามที่ว่าคือตามการพัฒนาเศรษฐกิจมาใช่ไหมคะอย่างเทรนด์ที่มันเกิดขึ้นที่วงการธุรกิจเนี่ยก็จะคิดถึงเรื่องการพัฒนาอย่างยั่งยืนแล้วเทรนด์ตอนนี้ก็คือเรื่อง circular economy เรื่องเศรษฐกิจหมุนเวียนคือเทรนด์โลกแบบนี้เนี่ยค่ะมันมีผลต่อการตัดสินใจของภาคธุรกิจในการลงทุนที่มันกระทบกับสิ่งแวดล้อมไหมคะเพราะว่าอันนี้ก็เป็นกลไกหนึ่งที่คิดว่าภาคประชาชนถ้าใช้มุมแบบนี้ที่กดดันภาคธุรกิจให้มีสำนึกเรื่องนี้เนี่ยมันมีผลจริงเป็นไปได้จริงไหมคะในแง่
ก็ผมเนี่ยเหมือนกันนะแต่ว่าต้องให้เป็นจริงใช่ไหมคะถ้าไม่จริงก็เราจะไม่รอดกันทั้งหมดนะคะอันนี้เห็นชัดกันอยู่แล้วเห็นชัดเจนกันจริงๆใช่ไหมคะก็แต่ว่าจะได้ผลหรือไม่ได้ผลก็แล้วแต่ว่าสังคมจะสนใจแค่ไหนนะคะคิดว่าก็มีแต่พวกเราที่เป็นที่เรียกว่าทีเวสนะคะพูดกันในวงเล็กๆนี้จะไม่ได้ผลก็ต้องขยายในสังคมเท่าที่จะทำได้มากที่สุดนะคะวันนี้ก็เห็น
more suggestion is we have to expand the network after all. Yeah. Now we are seeing that more of the young people are involving with the movement that we are having. So maybe in some works we cannot do much anymore, but the younger person.
คุณย่าต่างมาที่คุณทิทัศน์นะคะอันนี้เป็นคนรุ่นใหม่ไฟแรงทำงานสารคดีนะคะอันนี้มีคำถาม
ในห้องไหมคะที่จะถามน้องทิวทัศน์นะคะทำสารคดีสั้นได้รางวัลแล้วก็ตอนทำคือยังอยู่มหาวิทยาลัยอยู่เลยใช่ไหมคะได้ยินครับระหว่างนี้ขอมีคำถามส่วนตัวก่อนนะคะคือในฐานะที่เป็นคนรุ่นใหม่เนาะ
So the question to Thiwthat, as you are the young generation, I would like to know if you think the young generation can play the role in the environmental movement, because it seems like the situation is getting heavier. So it seems to us that the young generation is now starting to get to know more, understand more of the situation. What do you think about this? And what are you going to do in the future for yourself on the
คืออย่างนี้ครับก่อนที่จะเล่าทุกอย่างผมได้ไปเห็นแม่น้ำโขงครั้งแรกตอนอายุ
So for me, when I only saw the Mekong for the first time when I was 12 years old. The river looks great back to that year, but now when I revisit the Mekong, I was pretty shocked looking at how the Mekong look like. So I was thinking pretty seriously with the problem of the Mekong, the dam. Supposed to be a very dangerous thing. So things that we have seen 10 years ago is gone. In northeastern Thailand, people have the belief in Naga, the big snake. So the question is that how people would think about all this. What about the life of the Naga who live in the Mekong? So it's not only about daily life, but it's also their belief, their culture, the art that people produce according to the nature that they are living with. And now when it's gone, how can people live? So the question what I would like to do next, I still would like to produce some media that can support the campaign.
ในภาพยนตร์เนี่ยมันจะมีฉากหนึ่งที่ตัวพระเอกเนี่ยโดนระเบิดจากการระเบิดเกาะแก่งที่แม่น้ำโขงนะครับทำให้อันนี้ก็เป็นการสปอยล์ด้วยนะก็ทำให้
So my future plan is that I would like to cover the issue of the Mekong blasting, the project to blast the rock in the Mekong in order to ride the 500 ton of ship along the Mekong downstream. So my main actor is supposed to be injured by this action. So I'll spoil my future work a little bit to tell you.
อาจจะได้อีกสักคำถามสั้นๆ
Maybe one more question.
จริงๆอยากฟังต่ออีกเยอะของหลายๆท่านนะคะแต่ว่าเรามีท่านหนึ่งที่สำคัญมากก็คือการฉายภาพยนตร์นะคะ
So from now we are going to show the movie.
หาได้ยากนะคะคือจริงๆเหมือนเป็นคนในมากเลยเป็นคนในพื้นที่ด้วยแล้วก็เป็นวัยรุ่น
Thank you Thiwthat, who is the young man, and he also lives in northeastern Thailand, which is nearby the area.
ขอบคุณมากที่เสียสละเวลาแล้วก็อยู่ในซูมกับเรามาอย่างยาวนานมากเลยด้วยว่าห้องทางบ้านก็ยังสู่กันนะคะก็ในห้องเสวนานี้นะคะอย่างที่กล่าวไว้ก็คือมีนิทรรศการภาพถ่ายนะคะซึ่งในไลฟ์เราสามารถถ่ายให้เห็นได้คนในไลฟ์นี้ที่อยากมาดูแล้วก็มาดูที่ของ
So lastly, thank you for our speakers.
หนังภาพยนตร์อันนี้เราเชอรี่พรีเซนต์มากนะคะเป็นภาพยนตร์ที่อยากให้ทุกคนได้อยู่กันนะคะเดี๋ยว
So I would like to
รายชื่อภาพยนตร์ที่หลังจากนี้นะคะ
invite everyone to watch the movie and the feature. So we will start with the Sahong, the fish area that being threatened. The second one will be Panithan, the Sin's Hope is award winning.
อันนี้นะคะเป็นงานของคุณออสตินนะคะไม่ได้มาในที่นี้
And we're going to have a very short documentary on the Tonle Sap
ผลงานระดับ
migration.
international มากเลยนะคะแล้วเขาก็อนุญาตให้เราได้เผยแพร่นะคะสามารถเอามาฉายให้เราได้ดูกันได้ในวันนี้แล้วก็เรื่องสุดท้ายค่ะ
And then the last one
ชายขอบตัวเลส
is going to be
ปลา
in
หาย
the
ไปนะคะของคุณสุเทพเนี่ยที่เราได้เห็น
we're going to show the last one, the very long, it's pretty long movie about Tonle Sap, which
และ
already
เสียงเหมาะแก่การดูในจอแบบนี้มากนะคะจะดูในทีวีอรรถรสจะหายไปนะคะ
it's already shown in television at the Thai public
ขออนุ
broadcast.
ญาตจบเซสชันนี้นะคะในการพูดคุยเพียงเท่านี้แต่ว่างานแมวของเราค่ะสัปดาห์สิ่งแวดล้อมแม่โขงอาเซียน 2020 ยังไม่จบแค่วันนี้เพราะว่ายังมีพรุ่งนี้นะคะวันที่ 26 แล้วก็วันที่ 27 อีกนะคะอยากให้ได้มากันถ้าเกิดมาสถานที่จริงก็จะดีมากก็จะได้บรรยากาศนะคะตอนนี้ก็ขอขอบคุณวิทยากร
So
นะคะ
we finish our panel
มาก
and
ๆเลยนะคะที่มา
thank you
ร่วมพู
all
ดคุ
the
ยกับพวกเรานะคะ
speakers. And we still
ขอบคุณ
going to have
ผู้ชมทุกท่านด้วยนะคะ
Mekong-ASEAN Environmental Week for Saturday and Sunday. So please continue joining us. Thank you.
ระหว่างนี้